What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Epic 7 video. Today is our honest review for Death Dealer Ray, DDR, Dr. Dre, whatever you want to call him. The Plague Doctor is finally here, and he looks amazing. Is his gameplay up to par? That's what we're going to discuss today. But I spent the past 2 days grinding a ton of RTA games, pulling for him, building for him, testing comps, testing builds, all the good stuff, so that you guys don't have to, because I know a lot of people are on the fence. He looks good, but the gameplay, you know, a lot of people are predicting he's not going to be amazing. So stay tuned to hear the full honest review. And yeah, guys, without further ado, let's get into it. Before we start, as per usual, if you did decide to summon for Death Dealer Ray before watching this review video, let me know how your summons went. I ended up spending, I believe, 7,000 mystics total. So not a full pity, but it definitely broke the bank in terms of saving up mystics. I didn't pull for Commander Pavel, did not pull for Astromancer Elena, got pretty lucky on Zio. So I had a lot of mystics saved up. Well, that's all gone. So let's pray, guys, the next hero that comes out isn't something that I get unlucky on or someone I want really badly. But regardless, we have Ray now. Let's go ahead and break down the builds and what we learned so far. All right, let's start with a quick refresher on Ray's skills in case you weren't aware. You need to just brush up a bit. The skill 3, Cloud of Death, releases Miasma of Fatal Poison, 100% chance to put all enemies to sleep for 1 turn, and another 100% chance to inflict Venom for 2 turns. And then we can also deal additional damage equivalent to 80% of the target's injuries, and then we get an extra turn. So this is a very unique style skill. We have kind of a Venom that'll deal like damage, depending on how much Venom stacked up, as well as a 100% chance to apply more Venom and to sleep. Remember, this is a focus ability, meaning you can't start with it immediately, which I think is definitely not a strong suit. That's not very strong on most characters. Death Dealer Ray is no exception to that. I hope this maybe will get looked at in the future in terms of buffs, but we'll talk about all that stuff later. Either way, now we know what the Cloud of Death does, and that focus mechanic is why I wanted to try counter in the beginning, so maybe we can get some counters and lead into that, what do you call it, Cloud of Death a little bit sooner. The skill 2, though, is where I thought was really fun about Ray's kit. I think probably the best part of it is, right, we get a combat readiness push, which is always nice, but we also get effectiveness boost, and then we also grant Pestilence to all allies, which is awesome. This is a new ability, guys. Cannot be dispelled, and all our units, as long as they're not counterattacking, extra attacking, or dual attacking, don't forget that part. I forgot in the beginning, and I ran a full counter team. Obviously, it does not work as well because you have to attack on your turn, but it works with AoE, multiple hitting units like Dizzy, Bellion, any skill 3s that hit multiple targets like Alencia. Those are all great with the Pestilence as we can start stacking up. And honestly, just having your tanks and Soul Weavers as well, maybe you're running some alongside Ray. Anytime they skill 1, we'll also have that Pestilence, that Venom, and that's really what you're going to want to do. You really want to apply those. You want to make sure you strip any immunities, start applying all the Pestilence Venoms, and just survive until you can get that big skill 3 payoff, and your team is also applying more and more Venom, debilitating, and you know, controlling the battlefield via sleeps on the skill 3. And speaking of sleeps, the skill 1 clinical trial. This is a 75% chance to put your enemy to sleep for 1 turn, and then you detonate any Venom effects. Does not trigger a dual attack. So that's kind of the skills. We'll brush back up on them and how effective they actually were, as well as the skill enhancement, after we talk about the stat build and kind of just, you know, what we learned in terms of just gameplay. Moving on to the builds and the stats. We went for a counter set, 4-piece counter with 2-piece hit set. The 2-piece hit set, honestly, guys, I don't think was too important. Just adds extra stats. And, you know, Ray does want effectiveness, as seen, like, also with his skill 2 anatomical mutation, right? We're going to be landing debuffs. It's nice to make sure we hit most targets. We can't hit every single target, especially the higher F-Res Knights or Soul Weavers, but, you know, it's good enough. On top of that, we have the Celestine, which I think is nice on counter units, especially, obviously, Soul Weavers that don't have a built-in heal. Kind of a win-win. You both build up focus. We're also providing healing, and we have the counter set to proc it even more outside of just pressing the skill 1. I think that's the main time Celestine is really viable. I'll tell you all how it worked out overall. But in terms of the stats, we went for a lot of bulk. Made sure we weren't too slow here, 200 speed, and then had some effectiveness and effect resist. There was nothing really super in mind what I wanted to bring, and honestly, after tons of games playing him, I still don't really have a full idea of what I liked best. Some games, this counter build worked well. Other games, I opted for a just standard speed build. I might show a screenshot, but it's super simple. We just went for like 230 speed on speed set. Kept similar stats, but had to sack like a little bit of bulk. Yeah, I don't think there was anything in particular on the build that I wanted to change or felt I needed. Just make sure, guys, on Death Dealer Ray, you speed tune him. I think that's the most important part if you guys do plan to build him. Make sure he's faster than your units, especially your damage dealers that are going to bring, especially like area effects, like your Bellions, whatever else you might be bringing with him to provide or to apply that pestilence and that venom. Just make sure he's faster, obviously, right? Because you're going to get that skill 2. You get to push them up and then apply it, and then they can start going to town. So this is the build that I tried. I guess now let's just talk about how good he is. So what's my honest review of Death Dealer Ray in terms of performance? Is he good or not? Well, the only death he was dealing was to my win rate. Remember, these honest reviews are catered or specifically advising for real-time arena RTA, not talking about arena, Guild Wars, or PvE, which I don't know why you'd use him there too much, as Venom I don't think works on most enemies, if not all. But regardless, right, it was very, very difficult to run him, guys, and I definitely put him on some good enough gear. I tried out different builds, different units. I'm still going to try out more stuff. I might try a even more aggressive style with Ray, but I think that kind of defeats the purpose of what they wanted to bring with him. That being said, let's go ahead and just talk about my findings. If ever the stars align with Death Dealer Ray and you fight an opponent that's not trying to just kill you and super, super fast with tons of damage, so another tanky or maybe just standard player, right? A mix of a knight, a soul weaver, some damage dealers, and he's not trying to just obliterate you from the get-go. Ray feels okay. Sometimes pretty good. He gets to control the field as long as they don't have too much immunity or cleanse, okay? So that's the big thing, guys, and we're going to talk about what I think maybe Death Dealer Ray needs, and that's actually where I need you guys to step in and tell me if you have any ideas as well as to maybe what Smilegate might want to change, because maybe he will get buffed sooner than later, but we'll save that for the end. Right now, right, guys, it's just very tough to run him because he has no inherent strip, and as well as that, Venom is just dispellable. So we can't bring him against aggressive comps, and let alone cleave comps, right? Because he does nothing. He's just not fast enough to sort of contest, really. He has no survivability. His combat readiness is just not too much, only 20%. It's just tough to run him if your opponent is just going to railroad you and just all-out aggress and just destroy you before Ray can really build up that focus. That's another thing, right, guys? A unit that isn't able to skill 3 off the bat has to set up a skill 2. We really need to bring him against units that aren't going to kill us super fast. So we want to grind down our opponents that also aren't playing tanky, but at the same time, those standard players, those tank down players, are probably bringing some soul weavers and especially immunity givers like Mediator Coeric and Desert Jewel Bazaar, DJB, who provide like multiple turns of immunity and full cleanse. And it's just Death Dealer Ray, he can't fight the fast comps. He struggles against the slower comps that have immunity, and those are very, very relevant, very high picks right now. It's just tough to find him a spot, at least for real-time arena. So in all honesty, guys, here's my honest review, and we're going to keep talking, so don't tune out just yet, but he needs a lot of love. He's fun. He looks amazing, which I think in his review is what everybody's saying, right? Look at his in-game ratings. There's no surprise here. There's nothing different, guys. I didn't find an amazing build or secret to it. I will keep testing him, though, because I do like this style, and I hope Smilegate continues to build units like this, not just fast cleaver type units, but overall very difficult to run. So be careful if you are spending a ton of mystics and you want to have a good RTA, real-time arena unit, as the other areas, like I said, I'm sure he can do well in probably arena. But overall, super difficult to run. When the stars align, he can control the field, build up that venom, but even then, it's kind of tough for him to finish the match if he didn't bring enough injury, if certain units got banned out, if there was too much cleanse. But yeah, he's tough to run. So with that being said, let me talk about the good stuff in his kit that I liked. So the good stuff about Ray, it's very short. The thing that I liked the most was obviously just anatomical mutation. I talked about it before. The skill 3 felt a little bit underwhelming, especially on the venom inversion or whatever you want to call it. The skill 1, the detonate, didn't really feel too great. The sleep felt good, but the skill 2 I think is the moneymaker in terms of where maybe Smilegate wants to go with him. The pestilence providing to your team, and then the fact that I mentioned, immunity up is so hard for him, and it is. And he needs that provide cleanse plus immunity or multiple turns of immunity. Is very hard for him to deal with. But if you just talk about a standard cleanser like Destina, Ray actually doesn't struggle too much, or it's not the end of the world, because when you provide pestilence to your whole team, a lot of times the attacks are staggered, and the cleanser, unless they are like a Montmorency level of multiple cleansing every turn, they will struggle to upkeep or at least maintain the complete removal of all the venoms, sleeps, all that stuff. So overall, I think skill 2 was a lot of fun. I think he's fun. I'm going to keep playing him But before I wrap up the video on my closing thoughts on why you probably shouldn't pull for him, or maybe the few y'all out there why you might want to pull, let's talk about skill enhancements and artifact selection real fast. Skill enhancement, guys, he actually does kind of want a bit here. You want the 100% chance on the Cloud of Death sleep, even though a lot of times, I don't know, guys, at that point, the sleep, you just get it, though. 100% chance to sleep is great, but sometimes I would just wake enemies up because we're bringing AoE with him. Same thing with the skill 1. But the skill 2 here, you can skimp a little bit here on the skill 2, but even then, the 6% extra combat readiness I'm missing out here, sometimes it's really nice, right? That's an extra push, especially when you're trying to get that first turn setup. I don't mean first turn in terms of like going first, but at least getting your units ready to go. Having extra combat readiness is always nice. And the skill 1, here's where you can you don't need the last 2, but I would try to suggest getting the sleep. Maybe skip here, as it's 65 is still, 65 and 75, not the biggest deal, but any chance you can get, the sleep is pretty crucial, guys, especially if you're doing like a counter build. Artifact selection, if you're on counter, Celestine, obviously a very, very nice one. Other than that, I think the only one I think I would really want is like Guardian Ice Crystal, as it's an insane artifact, provides effect resist and some out-of-turn healing, which Ray doesn't have built into his kit, right, as a Soul Weaver. Let me know if you guys tried out any other artifacts, but I think if you start with those 2, you can't go wrong. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to closing thoughts. So, is Death Dealer Ray worth up to 10,000 of your hard-earned mystics, or in my case, 7,000, at least for RTA Real-Time Arena? Heck no, guys. Unless you're pulling just for looks or expecting him to get buffed, which, stay tuned, we're going to talk about here in just a minute. I would avoid at all costs. It's just not a favorable meta for him. The meta is just too aggressive, too many cleave, too many fast damaging units like Silius plus Stenny. Anything that just that's fast will kill him immediately off the bat and won't provide him enough room to breathe and, try to control the field and slowly grind them down via venom and injury. On top of that, even against standard or slower players, if they have too much cleanse, if they have immunity up, it's just such a pain in the butt to try to run him. So I think he needs definitely a lot of love, at least to make him feel better. I'm not saying someone out there can't make him look pretty good, but at least in my findings, it's just why run this kind of unit when there's a lot of other units that just are so much easier to run. And it's not even like he's okay. Not every unit has to be amazing, but it's just such a pain. It's so awkward and hard to try to get a comp that runs with him. And yeah, I think he definitely needs some love. So if he was to get a buff, guys, remember Astromancer Elena got buffed within under 2 months, I believe. Maybe a lot of people are expecting for Ray to get the same kind of treatment. I don't like that Smilegate is doing that necessarily. It sucks trying to pulling a unit just hoping they're going to get buffed soon. But it is what it is in terms of balance. Maybe they don't want to bring him out too powerful off the bat. But I hope maybe he'll get either some form of Undispellable on the Venom. That maybe will make Venom too awkward, so if they could just put it via combined with like Pestilence on his skill 2, just make Venom undispellable if it was applied via Pestilence or if Pestilence is active. Maybe also on top of that, if he could have a strip on his skill 3 before he provides that sleep, and more Venom would be nice. It just sucks that he can't even strip immunity on his own when every other unit in the game feels like they can do that. I would like to see him get changed. Something like that at least would make him feel better. But overall, as long as they keep him the same in terms of no survivability, wanting to provide like grind down via venom and injury, it's going to be tough to run him, I think, at least for this meta. We'll have to wait to see if the meta shifts as more units are introduced. If any other units are changed, we'll have to see in that regard. But overall, don't pull him unless you like him. Slow, tanky players, I would like to ask for y'all to pull him. That's why I pulled him, because I want to get units like this that aren't necessarily fast, cleave, aggro units. So if any of my slow, tanky brethren out there that are still out there hustling, let me know how your findings are, and maybe I can learn from y'all as well. So we'll wrap it up there, guys. Don't pull DD Ray unless you know what you're doing, unless you like his looks. He does look amazing, but yeah, try to avoid unless he gets buffed. So thank you so much. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.